She released a children's book.
Okay, so do you want me to read a few pages out of the book? Yeah? The problem with the English roses was that they were all a little bit jealous of a little girl in the neighborhood.
She's sitting there reading to children the English rose, wearing this really kind of dowdy, big floral dress, you know, and she looked like she could be, you know, the queen or something. It was ridiculous. And I think, you know, that's really kind of the extreme she went to reinvent herself.
Now, at this point, it's interesting to note that the book's main theme is about little girls learning traditional moral values, while Madonna's previous book was about a hitchhiking bisexual dominatrix in search of the ultimate orgasm.
Some people are wondering how this squares with sort of, you know, the naked hitchhiker and all that sort of tomfoolery.
Well, when I did the sex book, I was interested in very different things, and I was not interested in helping other people or being a teacher. I was interested in showing off and being an exhibitionist. Now I have children, so I'm interested in that.
So you're reformed, you've moved on.
Thank you. I have moved on.
Once upon a time there was a naughty, dirty little girl.
The fragrant new direction gave French and Saunders fresh material for the latest in a long line of Madonna parodies.
She even did a nude book where she showed her vixen toilet parts to everyone and depicted scenes of depravity with young and old gay boys and girls licking and poking her.
For the next few years, the couple settled down to a genteel life spent in the glorious tranquility of the English countryside. This is the story of the biggest showbiz divorce in the world ever. After almost 8 years of marriage, it's all over. And now the gloves are off. In the true blue corner, there's the half-Italian stallion Madonna. And in the red, white and blue corner, it's Guy the Mockney Cockney Ritchie. But where exactly did it all go wrong?
I think the key event that caused the whole thing to fall apart was when she fell off the horse.
It was her 47th birthday, and Madonna was riding the horse that Guy had bought her as a gift. Rumours that he'd asked for a feisty one were wholly unfounded.
The pop star Madonna is recovering at her country home after breaking several bones in a fall from her horse.
She cracked 3 ribs, broke her collarbone and her hand.
It was a very severe accident. She was really traumatised. She broke a lot of bones.
She's so physically fit that for her body to literally crumble, you know, like she said, she felt her skeleton just crumble. I mean, I think nothing like that had ever happened to her before.
In pain and with a growing fear that she'd never really be able to vogue again, what the multi-millionairess really needed was something you can't buy. The Material Girl was after a bit of TLC.
You abandoned me.
Guy would have been probably very businesslike and practical, and Madonna was looking for affection and hugs.
What he probably should have done was put his arms around her, gently, obviously, because it was deeply painful, but to have been there for her, to have been that emotional crutch that she obviously really needed.
A comedy take on the horse incident left viewers in little doubt as to the writer's perspective on the relationship. The dialogue is entirely fictional, by the way.
What, my love, what happened?
The horse threw me, Guy. I've had a terrible fall. I think I've broken something.
Oh dear, that's awful. You must be in absolute agony. Somebody I know is going to get a few extra carrots in his nose bag tonight. Good boy.
The one thing that Madonna has always wanted is security, and of course she's got the fame, of course she is the most successful female artist of our generation, but all she really wants is actually to be loved and to be happy and to be made to feel...
Oh, shut up, girl.
She expected Guy to be a little bit more compassionate when she was injured, and I don't think he was. I don't think he was there for her when she wanted him to be there, and I think that was the real turning point in the relationship, where she decided that he wasn't the man for her.
It was a pony, by the way.
For 2 months, Madonna was unable to do anything. But following her recovery and feeling shunned by her husband, allegedly, she got back on a horse she knew she could control. The horse called Pop. The promo video couldn't have been a clearer statement of intent. The demure lady of the manor was no more. The pneumatic disco queen was back in all her hot pink glory.
It was like a bullet from a gun. She just went straight back into show business. Dressed up in her leotard, I had that domestic period, and now I'm back. I'm Madonna.
She was back on top of the charts and getting down with the kids, but she was pushing 50. Was this mutton dressed as Madge?
The press had a field day, really.
There have been a lot of stories appearing of really nasty stuff about how her hands look like an old woman's hands and how she's going down the gym too much and she's lost it.
There were lots of articles about how, you know, look at her hands, they're all mottled and veined and they're really old, and she's really old underneath all that.
Apparently Guy wasn't impressed either. Perhaps he was a bit embarrassed by her indoors.
I think that might have been a difficult thing for him to deal with because he was used to her being the English Rose.
If you look at the timeline of when her marriage seems to have started to break down, that's when the raunchy, sexy Madonna started to make an appearance. It was almost as if, you know, if my husband doesn't find me sexy, then I need to make sure the rest of the world does.
The film of her tour was a candid, behind-the-scenes portrayal and brutally honest in its depiction of married life. One scene in particular would ring true for many women. You come off stage after a hard day playing in front of 10,000 people and your old man's down the pub. Oh, typical.
You're the only ones in the pub? Okay. Is that a half an hour in the real world, or is that a half an hour in your world?
It's funny that Madonna kept the footage in where Guy's clearly not there for her. She maybe didn't even realise how that was coming across. She probably thought, I'm just being honest.
They opened the pub for Guy, and that's why he didn't come to the show, not because he's such a bad liar. Why do boys even try to lie?
There was a lot of talk at that time about how difficult relationships were, and she had no idea how difficult marriage was going to be, and maybe this was her way of illustrating that. Just, well, I'm just an ordinary person just like you, and this is what happens when you're married to someone. And maybe it wasn't until later that she thought, hang on a minute, he really wasn't there for me.
Another place she no longer wanted to be was down the old battle cruiser.
Do you know how many times I've heard these songs?
That was as clear as day, Governor, judging from the way this scene was edited. Executive producer, Madonna.
I want to go home.
She was getting bored with Guy and bored with England. Bored with England? Cheeky care.
It was almost destined to happen. Madonna seems to go through cycles where every 6 or 7 years she changes personality and persona.
It was just kind of an English thing she was going through. It's partly well-laid plans, but also partly subconscious, you know. If you want to stay on top as long as she has, you have to reinvent yourself. You can't keep doing the same thing. I think it's a necessity. I don't think she's stayed where she is for so long by doing the same kinds of things.
Madonna was beginning to tire with her love affair with Britain. She didn't want to be living in the country, which is very much Guy's haven. It's where he spends his weekends. In fact, it's where he spends as much time as he possibly can. Madonna had done the riding, she disapproved of the hunting. The whole sort of lady of the manor had worn thin. For those reasons, a rift had developed.
While she had completed a record-breaking world tour, he was making another film and another flop. Ritchie returned with Revolver, a Caballo referencing caper which was so bad it was bad.
I wouldn't want my son to see it. I wouldn't want my daughter to see it.
In fact, hardly anybody wanted to see it. Whilst her star continued to shine, his was waning.
I think with big Hollywood couples, you know, it's best if they're not competing with each other, if they're kind of on the same sort of level in terms of fame and success. And when the sheen started going off Guy Ritchie's career, then obviously Madonna's going to notice that, Guy's going to notice that, and it's going to cause tension between them.
The first signs were showing. There was trouble at Mill.
Yeah, we'd love to spend more time with each other.
I was going to say. It is an issue, yes.
The marriage needed help. They turned to the wisdom of Kabbalah. It's some religious thing they're into. It's all about dressing up in black caps and being photographed walking in and out of caves or something like that.
There was the reported whispering therapy that they had. So he would whisper to her, you know, you're beautiful, you're powerful, and she would whisper to him, well, you're macho and you're my man. And, you know, you're thinking, gosh, if